Welcome to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the number one podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood flooring, and sawmill industry. I'm your host, Steve from Acres of Timber. Each week, we feature various wood business owners and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We share their stories, paths, insights so that you can network, learn, and grow your own wood business. Thank you so much for listening. Now enjoy the episode. The Woodpreneur Podcast is proudly sponsored by Acres CRM. Acres CRM is the wood industry's only customer relationship management software dedicated to helping you automate your sales and marketing so that you can focus on serving your customers and growing your business. You can visit acresoftimber.com to learn more and to schedule a demo. Once again, that's acresoftimber.com. Hey, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Woodpreneur Podcast. This is your host, Steve. Today's guest is Nathan Nowak from WYCO Wood Co. How you doing, Nathan?
Excellent. How are you today, Steve?
Great. Thank you. Why don't you tell everybody about your business?
Well, we started WYCO Wood Co. Oh gosh, it's probably been about 5 years ago now, with the idea of just taking trees that had no other purpose and turning them into something other than firewood.
Yeah.
Never really thought it would materialize into more than that. But as time went on and we learned how much we really enjoy opening up a log and seeing what's inside of it. And it kind of took on a life of its own. I was fortunate enough to have a pretty decent contact in the area, Tom the Sawyer. His real name is Tom Hogard.
Yeah, Tom the Sawyer. I think he's mentored lots of Sawyers and woodpreneurs in the world.
Very knowledgeable man. Unfortunately, he's not doing the sawmilling anymore. But he was the one that initially turned me on to the sawmill and how much fun that could actually be. Stress relief, it's a hobby that turned into just way more. We started with the Alaskan chainsaw mill. Of course, we all did. My father and I.
Yeah.
Realized quickly how much work that was. And then we said,
it's a young man's game.
Yeah. If we're going to do this, let's just go ahead and get a right equipment. So
yeah,
we bought the Lucas sawmill, and I think I had to watch every video on YouTube for that perfect sawmill. And it's when we settled on, and it really can do so many things. I'm really, really fortunate that that's the one we picked to start with. Between the slabbing and the dimensional lumber, it can do the sanding, the planing.
Yeah.
Very versatile machine. So yeah, we bought that, and it's just kind of just keep growing every year.
Cool. Tell us the makeup of your business. What's your model? I saw that you do portable milling. Right?
Yeah. That's probably, I would say 80% of our business is we get phone calls from people that really have no other options. They've got a giant tree in their yard that they can't move because of the size of it, and they don't want to turn it into firewood. Maybe has a sentimental value to them of some kind. And they search for options, and then they find us, and we're able to bring the mill directly to them, regardless if it's in their front yard, their backyard, down a hill, an embankment. I mean, the mill is so portable that we can some pretty tight places, build the sawmill around the log, and then turn it into the lumber that they want.
Yeah.
That's probably 80% of what we do.
Okay.
Just things that people can't find another solution for. And when they find us, they seem very grateful and happy that we provide the service KC metro area.
That's great.
Yeah, it is. It's really been to solve problems that they've been told, no, hey, we can't do that. Or our mill won't fit there. We come in and we're able to get the job done for them. Well, yeah, that's probably 80% of what we do and have done over the last few years. This year, we bought a Timber King 1600 used sawmill.
And that's at your property, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Bought that from another local guy here in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
That's really opened a lot of doors for us too, as far as what we're able to provide the customer. If we can get that mill to them and set it up, it's obviously much, much quicker and easier than the Lucas mill. So yeah, it's been a good thing. We've really expanded this year, grown a lot.
That's great. What did you do before this?
Well, I still am a firefighter. I've worked for the Kansas Fire Department now for almost 20 years.
Okay.
I'm still in the military as a reservist out of St. Louis.
Okay.
Done that now for the last 4 years. So yeah, the sawmilling was never really supposed to be a career. It was a hobby. And then as people learned about the equipment we had and what we could do with it, and the business has really expanded. Every year continues to get bigger.
And I take it with your line of work, you are pretty flexible.
Well, yeah, you have to be. Yeah. The business of sawmilling, as you know, is not easy work. It's physically demanding. That's what I like about it, though. It gives me something to do.
Yeah.
Keeps me physically active when I'm on my days off.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is your schedule with your work? Is it like?
Yeah, we work a 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
And then off for 48 hours. So I'm at work for 24 hours every third day.
So one of my very first clients was in the business. And I'll give him a shout out, Tad Derrickson from TN Tree. He's got a Lucas Mill as well. And he's an emergency room nurse and like kind of similar. He's like, he works for a chunk of time and then he's got a bunch of days off. And then when he is on those days off, he's milling. Right. And, you know, it's interesting what you said, you know, like you do portable milling and you do lumber sales, right? And you do on-site milling, right?
The lumber sales is probably the smallest part of what we do.
Yeah.
Milling part is definitely.
Yeah. But you provide a real service that people need and you truly focus on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Steve, I think the other part of that too, that we do know if other people do this, but if they've got a small job, I'll even take a small tractor and my trailer, go load the logs for them, bring them back to my mill them, and then deliver them again back to them. That's another service that we provide. If it's not a big enough job for me to take the mill out and work for a whole day, it's sometimes easier to just transport the logs.
Yeah. Back to you, right? Yeah. 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 The most successful businesses have like, and I say it if you listen to my podcast, like 1 to 2 things, 3 things max. And the more complexity you add to your business, the more challenging and actually less profitable you become, right? And so like you already know how to estimate a job. You already know how to like mill the lumber because you have the equipment. Like nothing's really new, right? And at the end, everybody's happy. Like they're happy because they got, you know, lumber. You're happy because you made the client happy. Right. And I love, you know, again, I'm a fan of the Lucas Mill because of its portability and I mean, for what you get truly for the value, it's kind of an amazing piece of tool.
I agree 100%. And anyone getting into a sawmill, I would encourage them with the Lucas. It just does so many things.
Yeah. And you're making dimensional too, right? Did you get
I've got a swing blade that I can put on there. If I take the slabbing attachment off, I can make dimensional lumber. I can plane slabs with the planing head they've got, sand them with the sanding head they've got. It really just does a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. What are you looking to do to grow?
Well, that's why I'm talking to you. That's, you know, the challenges that I think that we have faced. It's kind of twofold. We are a service. We provide a service. We don't really provide a product.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you talk a lot about branding and increasing your awareness of brands, but for us to grow outside of our local market, you know, I think we would probably have to have a product to sell. It's just to provide. And I think that's where a lot of our challenge comes in is, first of all, getting people aware that we exist in Kansas City. Has been challenging. You know, we've done good things, I think, with our website this year, and we are getting more people interested.
Yeah.
That's been a challenge, just people in Kansas City understanding our service exists.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have a pretty decent sized market, right? Like, and it's like a mix between urban and rural, right? Like you could drive 30 minutes, you're in rural, 30 minutes, you're in the city, right? And I think the challenge is, again, it's probably like just an educational stuff. We could talk more about that. What's been the most rewarding part of starting this business? So you said 5 years, right? You've been in?
It's been right around 5 years. Yeah, we've really been doing well, or I guess I could say better, busier over the last 2 years have really taken off, this year especially. I think the most rewarding thing for me is to talk to a client on the phone when they find me and to tell that they're just defeated and they don't have another option of what they're going to do with this tree that they don't want to turn into firewood.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And hear, the frustration in their voice. Yeah. We get there on site and you can still kind of see it in their face. Hey, how are you going to do this?
Yeah.
You don't have the equipment on that trailer to do what I want done. And then we start putting the sawmill together or we start milling the lumber and you can just see the stress just kind of melt off their face and they get a and then, people in the neighborhood to stop by and they watch and, it's not something.
It's like a sideshow. It's like a traveling circus, right?
So when I can provide that service to the customer and they're happy at the end of the day and they see the product that no one told them they could turn into lumber, their tree service said, just chop it up, just turn it into firewood. And that's probably the most satisfying thing.
Yeah. I have some ideas on that. What the interesting thing that I do like about it is, again, like, I even saw on your website is like your pops, and there's another person.
Yeah, that's my nephew.
Okay, cool. Very cool. And all three of you go on jobs?
We do. If the nephew's available, he definitely goes with us. He's the young guy that does a lot of it.
The young back. Back.
My father,
he's Captain Saberback. Yeah,
he is. My father, he's in his 70s now, and he worked with me every day. He retired firefighter, Kansas City. Been a big reason why we have been as successful as we have.
Both you're in, pretty good shape, keeping active, right? So aside from the Lucas, how are you moving those big slabs off the Lucas? Are you just milling slabs big enough that you could not use a skid steer or anything like that?
No, I put a lot of thought into the piece of equipment that I wanted to buy to accompany the Lucas.
Yeah.
And the reason that I went with it's a smaller tractor made by Rural King, RK. I've had amazing luck with this RK tractor.
Yeah.
It's a subcompact tractor. And the reason I wanted to do that for two reasons. One, it's got the tires that don't tear up a customer's yard.
Yeah.
It's skid steer, and that sometimes can really damage a customer's property. And the other reason is the subcompact tractor was small enough where I could palletize the sawmill and lift it up with a forklift and get in people's back gates of their yards. I can really, really get in places that other sawmills just can't because of the size of the tractor and the size of the sawmill. So the tractor will lift about 1,000 pounds. That's what the specs say. If it's on all four wheels, 3 wheels is probably quite a bit more than 1,000 pounds. I don't know. RK wants to know that or not. The tractor hard, and I've been really happy with the results there.
That's great. So, and then you just load everything up on a trailer?
Yeah, we've got a 20-foot trailer that we pull behind a 250. Everything, we've designed it to work and fit perfectly. And we put the tractor, the sawmill on a 20-foot trailer with all our jobs.
Where would you like to take it? Like, what's the vision for the next couple of years? Because I'm thinking, if I'm you, your dad's a retired firefighter, like, you're committed to this, right? Like, you're this lifestyle. It's not like you have the vision of quitting being a firefighter because you probably love it and it's in your blood.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, like, where do you see it in a couple of years?
Well, that's a really good question, Steve. That's kind of what I've been wrestling with a lot this year is, what is the next step and where do we grow from here? The brand awareness, I think, is probably something we need to work on. And I would like to come up with some kind of product that will increase that brand awareness that we can sell outside of the busy seasons for the sawmill. As you know, the sawmill season is generally not all year. We don't want it's freezing outside. It's 10 degrees. I'm not going to stand in front of a sawmill and be miserable.
Yeah.
So those winter months that we do have some downtime, I think that's probably the direction I would like to take it, is
for sure
find a product that will increase the revenues that we have on the off season and obviously increase the brand awareness. What that product is, I haven't found yet.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So maybe, this is the part where we, where I give you any advice that could help you and obviously help the community. Like, would you say that that's the challenge that you'd want is like, what is a product or how do you increase brand awareness? Like, what do you think
Well,
is more pressing?
yeah, no, aside from just more people knowing about our service locally, I think that's the number one priority for me. And
Yeah.
however I can do that, whether that's just with Facebook, ads or Instagram, we try to boost some posts there without a lot of success. Our Instagram page hasn't grown nearly as much as I would have liked it to at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the content that we're putting on there is very good. I just
Yeah.
have a reason we haven't found the secret sauce for Instagram algorithm yet. But
Yeah.
that's a challenge. And then after that, yeah, I would like to know how to increase brand awareness and get more people to our website and provide a quality product out of something that we're not using with the sawmill, something that we've just gone
Yeah.
with a waste cut or, flitches that come off the mill. I would like
Yeah.
to find a way to turn that into something for the business.
So I have some ideas for you. One is, knowing, so like when I coach people, it's good to get a complete understanding. There's some people that actually hate their job, and that's a large part of the world hates their job, right? But that's not the case with you. It's more about design. And I always ask people this is like, what do you want your life to look like, your lifestyle? And so again, talking to you for, 20 minutes, I foresee and I think that you want this like enjoyable, sustainable business that you can run and potentially even while you are working, it's running in the background and you have the systems in place. And then when you're off, you can plug in and make it better. Right. Yep. Like that's right. And so like you got your job that you love that's paying you well. And then you got this other business that's like building and building and building and building and building on the side. Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So I start to think about like, what are the investments that you need to make in order for you to get there? Like one is potentially training up somebody to run the Lucas Mill when you're not there. Right. And while you're doing that, building your brand so that everybody in Kansas City literally knows who you are. Yes. Like that would be the goal. You're walking down the street. You're like, hey, you're the firefighter Sawyer, right? Hey, you're this person. You're that person. Like if you can get to that level of like celebrity in Kansas City, that would be because everybody knows like if a tree comes down, if a tree's on fire, they could call you. If a tree comes down, they could call you, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like if you can brand yourself as like the firefighter Sawyer or whatever, that becomes your lifestyle. There's pictures of you in the firehouse. There's a picture of you rescuing kittens. There's a picture of you, milling big slabs. And then not only that is that you got this amazing story that your dad was a firefighter too. And that's even more amazing. So you could post pictures of you because I'm sure there was a point where both of you overlapped, right?
Oh yeah. A couple of years.
Oh my God. You're like a hero right now. Like, so there's like an overlap with you and your dad. So pictures of you when you like, joined the academy. And then now there's a pictures of you. You could do one of those, like, this is how it started. This is how it's ended, right? Like those types of images, like you and your dad working. I mean, that's a beautiful story. And people want that. Like people want to be able to support that, right? Like you are serving and you have served your city as a civil servant. And now you're rescuing the trees.
Problem solved.
So that's your brand. That would be one thing. And then the other thing is think about like, what is your biggest byproduct right now? And so for me, I think about the Lucas capacity, and Lucas capacity is a lot of dimensional, and B, you can cut some big ass beams.
Absolutely.
And mantles.
Yes.
So you could probably get some extra lumber and then just start stocking 2x4, 2x6, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And that is a byproduct. You can air dry them, or you don't even need those air dry. Like if somebody's building like, a lean-to or a pergola or whatever, they don't need it dry.
Right.
Right? Like all of those things. So that would be one thing. And then the other thing are beams and mantles. Again, those are like low barrier of entry type things, like low barrier of entry. And those are easy. Those like that, right? You load them. And so one thing that I would think about, if you need a drying solution, I wouldn't necessarily go with a vacuum kiln because you're not at that level yet. Don't make that level of investment. I would look at a DH kiln that you can put into a shipping container. You get like a Nile, or I would build a solar kiln that you just like put there. As soon as it comes off the mill, off of your Timber King, you just load it into there and you just let nature do its thing. And then you go to Facebook Marketplace, and because everybody knows what you do and who you are, be like, hey, April, I'm unloading the kiln. I got 20 mantles. I got a bunch of beams. Oh, you need projects this spring? I have all of the. So that's what I would do. I would like start collecting some trees from some tree service people, right? Contact the city, because I'm sure you know a bunch of city tree people, right? You can reach out to them, say, hey, can you just dump a bunch of logs? We're looking for oak, ash, walnut, whatever, right? Do whatever you need to do. Like if you have to pay for them, negotiate a cheap thing, but like just start collecting some trees. And then in between, start milling some dimensional, because again, dimensional is functional. Beams are functional. Mantles are functional.
Yes.
And those are very baseline, easy things that, like, again, I like to look at. So everybody that's listening, you don't want to reinvent a new product or service that actually makes you want to, that disrupts your flow. You're already milling for other people. You might as well mill some extra products for yourself.
Sure. That makes sense.
Right? So again, A is build your brand, right? Let everybody know exactly who you are. And then if you're going to make any investment, get a small drying solution, right? That doesn't cost a lot of money, and make sure that you have the space. And 3, again, in my opinion, it's about, because you can mill dimensional, right? And you can mill big beams, big and long, and you can do mantles. And those are things everybody needs. Everybody needs all those things.
So go back to the basics, keep it simple.
Keep it super simple. That's what I would do.
That's even better solution.
Is that helpful?
It is helpful. Absolutely.
I love simple wood businesses. Like the type of business that you did is what my father-in-law did, right? Like he started milling, and then he started milling for other people. And then he got into a specialty thing, right? He could mill rafters and beams and, and flooring, right? And then as he started doing more, then he started building out his shop, right? Like it's like a slow progression. I see a lot of people feel the need to just like plunk down a few $100,000 right then and there when you literally don't have to. Listen, if you didn't have to do any of those things, you can probably work with somebody else to make that happen, and you build a market and you sell it through you.
Sure.
You don't have to do anything,
And I think that's probably part of this business that I've really enjoyed, is just how organically it's grown.
Yeah.
Every year we add a few more pieces of equipment, maybe upgrade this, and it continues to grow, and that's super exciting.
Yeah. I mean, this literally, like I told you, my client, he does the same thing. He's got a Lucas, and he gets help for moving stuff from either the client, or he hires somebody to help move big slabs. And then that's it,
The other great thing about this, and I think you probably agree, you've been in this long enough to know that what I do when I'm sawmilling, I just unplug. The problems that are there are not there. I'm just focused on doing that job right now for the customer.
Yeah.
I think about, and it is stress relief for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. As long as you're having fun, right? Like that's great. Cool. Any last bit of parting advice from your 5 years in the sawmill side of things? Like, what would you pass on?
I think probably the two things that I've learned in the 5 years so far is when you're ready, don't be afraid to invest in the right equipment. And then probably the other part of that too is how networking is and has become for me. Doors have really opened with just knowing the right people. And that's been a little bit of a surprise to me.
Yeah. Cool. And then tell everybody your website and your Instagram.
Sure. It's the website is WYCO Wood Co, WYCO WOODCO.com.
Yeah.
The Instagram is WYCO_wood_co.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to getting your story out.
Awesome, Steve. Hey, and I want to thank you just quickly for everything that you do for the wood business. It was really awesome to find your podcast. I listened to all of your episodes.
Oh, nice.
I really appreciate what you're doing for the community.
All right. Awesome, man. Thank you. That means a lot. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Woodpreneur Podcast, the #1 podcast for the business and marketing side of the lumber, woodworking, hardwood, flooring, and sawmill industry. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star rating and review. You can also tap into our community by visiting woodpreneurlife.com. Once again, that's woodpreneurlife.com. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next episode.